The Anti-FGM board is the body that has been put in place through an act of parliament. And we've really worked hard to bring the statistics down. By 2014, we were 21%. And we are hoping, even with the work we've done in the last 6 years, now the statistics should go down. But the issue here is it's a cultural practice. So it is entrenched in the communities that we work with. And we have said the best way even to go forward is to have dialogues. Communities need to speak. They need to say why they are continuing, why it's not stopping. And so it's something that we are working with other like-minded partners to make sure that we reach to the core. And now when we talk about FGM to STEM, we are seeing that most girls from the counties that practice FGM are not doing engineering courses. They are not doing science courses. And so how do we bring the girls on board? We know most of the girls are from families that cannot even afford school fees. How do we bring the women in energy? How do we bring the private sector to help us in making sure that the girls remain in school? And the girls not only remain in school, but do courses that are more science-based and technology-based, because that's where the world is going to. The world is becoming one village through technology. So how do we bring our girls on board? And the moment these girls get educated and become engineers and become doctors, then they will not do the same thing to their own children. We are all coming together because ending FGM is a multi-sectoral approach. We have to give it a multi-sectoral approach. The private sector has never thought about FGM. But now we are very happy that the Women in Energy plus KEPSHA and all the other stakeholders are coming on board now to help the president in his commitment to end FGM by 2022. Which, as the Anti-FGM board, we are on the steering wheel. We are the owners of the goal. So we are helping the president, making sure we are working with the president to make sure that his dream of an FGM-free nation comes to fruition. We are working very closely with the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics so that we can have FGM included in the Kenya Demographic Health Survey 2020. Then we can have the data.
And what we have just done this morning is to have an interactive dialogue with a group of stakeholders, Women in Energy particularly, which is a subset of the Private Sector Alliance, looking at an initiative that they have with their title From FGM to STEM. FGM, as we know, is female genital mutilation, which is a pernicious violation of rights of girls and women, and which His Excellency the President has said must come to an end in Kenya. Now, STEM, as we know it, is science, technology, engineering, maths. And like a lot of people know, there's been lots of interventions and programs addressing FGM, trying to put it to an end in Kenya. But what we found is that as we continue to try to end it in certain areas, it continues to evolve and still continues to perpetuate itself. And so we're asking ourselves, what can we do differently? And FGM to STEM provides probably one of the solutions that we can apply, given the fact that when you bring science and technology into rural communities, particularly giving young girls and women the capacities to apply them, these things bring solutions to their day-to-day challenges, be it energy, be it agriculture, be it water. And so in providing them solutions, on the back of that, you can then begin to propagate messages about ending FGM. Rather than going into communities without solutions to their primary problems, but also talking about the end of FGM. So we're trying to bring solutions to their primary problems, provide opportunities to broaden the economic space and participation in those rural areas through science, technology, and innovation. At the same time, then intervening with the people, building their trust, and trying to find ways of unsettling the norms that continue to perpetuate FGM in the community. So what we've had this morning is to have that interactive dialogue with a range of stakeholders led by the Women in Energy to explore that way so we can accelerate the promise the President has made. One of the things that we need to understand again is the fact that yes, in terms of education, county governments are playing the role that has been given to them within the Constitution. However, some of the challenges include infrastructure. It includes even community norms. And those who run our systems, who run our structures, even at the county level, still come from those communities and sometimes inadvertently perpetuate those norms. So one of the things that is very important that we saw as a unique opportunity of this is Women in Energy who've gone through STEM, who are willing to give back, who are willing to integrate with these communities and pull the capacities of private sector to help them with infrastructure, the basic minimum needed, but also to encourage the girls. As was said today, what image do we project? If we're able to project the image of successful, confident women, these young girls see it, and we're able to provide them through innovation the systems needed for them to learn and equip themselves, then gradually we're going to be moving communities away from age-long practices that have violated their rights?
Yeah, we are here today discussing the issue of stopping FGM through STEM, which is girls embracing science, technology, engineering and mathematics. As a county first lady, this is something I think which will really have a lot of positive impact. A lot of our girls in the grassroots really lack mentorship towards embracing the STEM subjects. You find that traditionally girls have tended to find subjects in STEM to be difficult, and this is even worsened when they do not get the right foundation and encouragement, because many of us would really maybe have selected to do sciences, but because of lack of a better foundation in subjects like math, then the failing trail happened, and you're not able to do careers in the field of science. And this has also led to girls not being able to exploit resources. You find that if girls lack the knowledge, then even if they're in places where there's land, there's rain, but they're not even able to exploit the land to the maximum. So I find that this STEM initiative, which is led by KEPSA and Women in Energy, is really going to transform our country, and it's also going to help us discard the negative cultural practices like FGM, early marriage, also involvement of girls, of successful women in mentorship of girls is going to encourage many of them to pursue their education. We are seeing a big problem of girls falling out of school due to early pregnancies, and it's mostly because they're not inspired, they're not motivated, they've not been mentored, and they lack the basic knowledge on sexual reproductive health. And you find that girls get into the way of motherhood way too early, and this will really have a detrimental effect in their lives, in their future lives. Like somebody said, if it's like having a football team, and I think it was Obama, half the team's hands are tied. How does that team hope to succeed? So we need to really empower our girls, ensure that they're not facing gender-based violence. And FGM is one form of GBV, gender-based violence, meted against women for no apparent reason. And it is something like our president says, which should end. And I'm happy the president has put the date of 2022 to end FGM. So we need everybody on board, especially professional women in town, to go back. Let's get back and talk to our communities, and so that we can be able to eradicate this harmful culture.
But we should thank the president for now coming out very boldly, because I believe he also feels we have talked about this, we have put in resources, we have put in policy, Parliament has brought in the policy, we have a board. I'm also saying the same thing, that we have talked so much about FGM, and I think it is time we just go back to the root cause. Why FGM? Why do people appreciate doing it? Because even if we run away, we have communities that will tell you we will be cast. Our grandmothers, they said if we don't go through it, we will not even get husbands. It's very interesting, the misconceptions around it, and how culture has been used now to derive the minds and torture you psychologically. That you find a girl will run away to go from Korea, Hispania, will enter Tanzania, looking on how to go through a cat herself, not even by the parents, not even one. And then also we have to start talking about within those communities where we know both borders are there, let's deal with both borders. Let's have a program that goes beyond us to them. And the other thing is now we talk to the men, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who decide you're getting married, are you cut, are you what. It's important to engage with the men in these communities again, because we've engaged with the women have accepted, the girls are willing to go to school, and they are very bright girls. Most of them, we find them in science subjects. Most of the girls from the pastoralist areas fight so hard to be in science programs. And I want to say that it's not the education. It is beyond our education and how we have to look at everything. It is going back and understanding in this family. Why are you Christians and you still believe they can be a curse? Because those are the fears. And these fears, and when we do the holistic approach, this approach has to bring in now, govern all stakeholders until at the village. Until the day we shall have even the religious men, women and men sitting in a village of small villages discussing about this. We cannot say at the top we cannot. It must be a bottom-top approach, not a top-bottom approach. We must go back. In those areas we have elders. Let's talk to the elders. I know the president will be having an elders meeting on all these concerns. Yes, it's a fantastic beginning, because he has realized we are doing it so much as women, but if we don't bring in our partners who are our men and our fathers and our brothers, we will not achieve this agenda. So for me, the approach has to change. We must look at it as a crisis for all of us. Yes, those who have gone through must be very serious on the phone, but also if the country rallies behind us. Because again, we realize the president has given a lot of goodwill to those who come from those areas to sit on the board, to give us what are the results. We find very many women going to New York talking on the same. And it is not just a Kenyan issue, it's a global issue of Africa. Because we have countries in West Africa that are very strong in this culture. Down in the south, we have very strong cultures of the same. So it is something we need to really go beyond that. Don't forget, if you are a girl and you get married to a community that does the cut, in your lifetime, you will have to end up also finding yourself in that. And I gave an example of I was sent by Professor Waititu Kabira to train in Baringo one time. In between the training, I was told there is a funeral of a lady, of a husband of a lady somewhere. And I went to this funeral with the ladies. And now after they have finished burying the husband, she was told, if you want to inherit whatever your husband has, you must go through the cut. And this was a 60-year-old woman, and it was very sad. And I looked, I said, no, this is a Luya. In their culture also, it does not allow. And so you see the cultures now started, but in the end of the day, trust me, the woman will go through the cut. She won't even tell us why. Her children, her everything, her inheritance. So these are some of the things we're saying. It is not just about the policies. Policies have made us come out louder, which is good. Now it is the approach of how we go and do just discussions, informal discussions with our leaders, our elders, our shows and owners to understand.
And today we are here for the FGM STEM to see the linkage with agriculture. And as a ministry, FGM is not an issue. The issue now is how are we going to reduce or even eliminate FGM. And therefore, as a Ministry of Agriculture, we have looked at empowerment as the key component that can remove poverty in the midst of the communities. And if they have a better livelihood, then they will be in a position to think of the better ways of taking our girls to the next level other than through FGM.
They didn't cut me because they wanted me married. It was not their